Case study number 1, applying the theories of Donald Super and John Holland. This is my agenda. Pause here if you want to read that. The subject of this case study is a retired 69-year-old woman named Melanie. Melanie has a high school education, was married at the age of 18, and had 3 children by the age of 24. After the birth of her 3rd child, she decided to work at Woolco department stores, starting in that store's customer service department. Her motivation at that time was to earn extra money to augment her husband's income and help support her family. Melanie was later promoted to manager on the sales floor. In 1994, all the Canadian Woolco stores were purchased by Walmart, which then became Melanie's employer. Her first 6 months at Walmart was spent in the personnel department, where she received and read resumes and composed the work schedule. It was at this time that Walmart began encouraging Melanie to apply for an upper management position. Not wanting a management position, Melanie accepted a job in the cash office. By the age of 59, Melanie was a widow. She liked her job, but changes were made at her store, including a new manager. The new manager made Melanie's work experience so unpleasant that she decided to retire. The following is a chart explaining Donald Super's theory of career development. Please pause here and read this chart to better understand what Super's theory of stages is. Here's Melanie's career from a perspective of Super's theory of career development. Again, please pause here, read this chart, and get a better idea of Melanie's working career and its stages. The first stage, of course, is the growth stage, from 0 to 14 years of age. In Melanie's case, she gave no thought of going to college or university, nor any notion of entering the workforce. Her growth period started at birth and ended right after her high school graduation on her wedding day. The exploration stage, from 15 to 24, was very brief for her. It began after her 3rd baby was born, when it became necessary to find a job to help support her family. She explored the job market for a few weeks, found a job in customer service at Woolco, and went to work. The establishment stage is from 25 to 44, and at this period she agreed was her establishment stage. She learned the necessary skills for retail sales, she impressed her managers with her work ethic, and she made some lateral moves and took at least one low-level management position. The maintenance stage is from 45 to 64. Melanie's maintenance stage began when Walmart bought Woolco. By that time, she had become a recognized, valued employee and was encouraged to move into higher management positions. However, she had secured the job in the cash office, a small room with just one other associate with whom she worked very well. She stayed in that job until she decided to retire. The disengagement stage is 65 and over. In Melanie's case, the disengagement phase came early. It began when a new manager was assigned to her store. The clash of personalities was irreconcilable, and soon she decided to retire at age 59 after 35 years with local Walmart. In her case, there was no gradual deceleration or delegating to others or slow withdrawal. One day she decided to quit and never worked again. Part 2. The perspective of cycles. To examine Melanie's career from the perspectives of Donald Super's theory of career stages, we see that with considerable variation in the age brackets of the stages, there is some degree of compatibility with this model. The career issues that Melanie faced in early stages of her career were lack of vocational training and no work experience. In her mid-career, she was secure and happy. Daniel Levinson's study in the early 1980s found that women face sex discrimination and fewer opportunities for self-improvement. In Melanie's case, however, there was never any feeling of sex discrimination, probably due to the fact that most of the people she worked with were women. She felt little need for self-improvement because she was content with her career in its middle maintenance stage. In fact, she resisted any encouragement by upper management to advance her career. She had discovered her self-concept. What were Melanie's thoughts about her career when she was young? Well, she was just glad to have a job. How does she compare that with her thoughts about her career in her later stages? Well, later she needed to make money to help support her family, but that diminished as the family's finances improved. She became more confident, secure, and knowledgeable about her job. She trained new hires and was a role model to them. How would she account for the difference? Well, the workplace values experience, maturity, knowledge, teamwork, communication skills, and the ability to mentor others. Melanie either learned or developed each of these skills as she passed through the stages of her career. There are examples of mini cycles in Melanie's career. For example, in the early years at Woolco, she was made a floor manager. She didn't really want that job and she didn't like it, so she cycled back down to a non-managerial position. She cycled up to a position in the cash office at Walmart. Not really a promotion, but a coveted posting just the same. Another mini cycle was at home. Her husband's health deteriorated to the point where he could no longer work. Melanie's job became the main source of income for the family, and she gained more confidence and earned more respect from her husband. What about Melanie's career from the perspective of fit? Well, I discussed Holland's 6 RIASEC dimensions with Melanie, and she thought her strongest category was social, since she liked people so much. Her next strongest characteristic she thought was artistic. She does watercolor painting, knitting, and gardening. She loves decorating, visiting art galleries, and listening to music. She thought her third strongest personality trait would be conventional, because she likes her life to be orderly. She used to keep records and write reports at work, and she likes to plan things before she does them. However, after taking Holland's personality test, she was somewhat surprised to find that according to Holland's model, she was an ESA, that is, enterprising, social, artistic. So what we learned from this exercise is there appears to be some degree of overlap of the 6 personality characteristics described by Holland's model. We agreed that no personality test with its arbitrary descriptors can be applied accurately to all people. What are the strengths and weaknesses of these theories? Well, Super's theory describes the stages of an individual's career in age intervals. In Melanie's case, there is some degree of agreement between these stages in her life and her career. However, her career path was determined at first by necessity and later by job security and social interaction. She only worked for one company and all career moves were made within that organization. She did not start out with a plan, did not follow one, and found her greatest satisfaction in one small office under her penultimate manager. The agreement between her career stages and Super's theory seems almost accidental or coincidental. Super's theory was designed with career-conscious white males in mind, not someone like Melanie. Therefore, one weakness in Super's theory is its narrow scope. And what about Holland's model? Holland's hexagon model with its degrees of congruence may be a good starting point for someone planning a career or for someone giving career advice, but not everyone fits neatly in these categories. Moreover, people change as they age, and workplaces and conditions also change. A workplace might have several job classifications which allow for lateral moves. These variables are not recognized by Holland's personality groups, so congruence may be experienced by a worker in opposition to or in spite of predictions coming from this model. In Melanie's case, she went through a number of mini cycles and lateral moves, making her career-personality relationship too fluid to be accurately categorized. What factors are not accounted for by these perspectives? Gender, race, religion, domestic conditions, social class, financial resources, family responsibilities, health issues, physical, emotional, mental, urban and rural locations, domestic support or abuse, access to transportation, prevailing economic conditions, employer stability, access to higher education or vocational training are not accounted for in Super's and Holland's theories. All of these factors could affect career choices, stages, and trajectory of a worker's career. Some of these factors had an impact on Melanie's life, for example, gender, age, domestic abuse, family responsibility, and so on. Does one or the other of these approaches we have studied so far explain the case better? No. Melanie's career path and level of congruence is roughly described by both Super and Holland. From Super's perspective, the stages of Melanie's working life are close to this model. From the Holland perspective, Melanie's work personality is closely described by Holland's hexagon. Super's theory seems to reflect white male career stages in the mid to late 20th centuries. Since then, we have seen the rise of the gig economy, short-term contract employment, diminished employer stability, remote employment, the digital revolution, and increased participation by women in the workplace, none of which Holland or Super could have foreseen. Super's theory has gone through a number of revisions to try to reflect changing conditions, while the labor market continues to evolve. His theory is still useful, but its limitations are recognized. In Melanie's case, she developed her career concept early in her working life, and her work was a good fit for her personality. Holland's personality model of congruence predicts potential worker satisfaction better, but is more useful as a starting point for young people seeking direction as they plan their careers. Both theories can be used as lenses to examine Melanie's career, but neither is totally accurate. Taken together, the theories of Super and Holland explain Melanie's career fairly well. I don't think either of them had a worker like Melanie in mind when they were creating their studies, but the course of her working life seems to fit somewhere in the overlap of these models.